His chief Washington correspondent, Jonathan Karl, will be hosting This Week later on this morning. John, good morning to you. Always great to have you. Let's start with the Epstein saga, overshadowing in part President Trump's trip overseas. Many of his own supporters continue to push for the release of more documents. So what's at stake for him as he tries to turn the page?
Yeah, look, it's the issue that just won't go away, Whit. I mean, look what happened this week in the House of Representatives. Speaker of the House, Johnson, literally sent members of Congress home for the summer to avoid a series of votes that Republicans were going to join Democrats in forcing on the Epstein saga. These are votes that the White House simply didn't want about releasing more of the documents. And then you had the extraordinary visit down to Florida by the Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell. This is Epstein's partner and former partner and co-conspirator. She's serving a 20-year sentence for sex trafficking, and she spent 2 days in closed-door meetings with the Deputy Attorney General. So even as President Trump wants to turn the page, says this is something nobody cares about, his own actions and the actions of some of his Republican allies have kept this story front and center, and it doesn't look like it's going away anytime soon.
And John, on that topic, you mentioned the DOJ holding those meetings with Ghislaine Maxwell. Any indication that President Trump is actually considering a pardon? Is that on the table?
Well, Whit, I mean, if you had just asked me that question, a week ago, I would have said no way. But President Trump has now been asked it a couple of times, a pardon or some kind of a clemency, commuting her sentence, and he hasn't ruled it out. It's an extraordinary thing. Now, look, senior advisors at the White House say there's been no real discussion of this. They don't anticipate anything like this coming. But the mere fact that he hasn't ruled it out, combined with the fact that Epstein's attorney has made it clear that she is very much interested in getting a pardon. And in fact, that appears to be part of her motivation in seeking this meeting with Todd Blanche down in Florida. Who knows? But it would be an extraordinary, to say the least, step by President Trump that would cause severe blowback. I can't imagine it's actually coming, but we can't rule it out because Trump himself hasn't ruled it out.
John Karl, as always, thank you so much. We appreciate it. And tune into This Week later on this morning. John speaks with Representatives Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie about their bipartisan push to force a vote on releasing more Epstein case documents. Plus, John also speaks with Save the Children's Gaza humanitarian director Rachel Cummings as aid groups warn of mass starvation in the Gaza Strip.
Well, then tell me why for months she was saying that she's going to release the information tomorrow.
We made the assumption that the judges would release the order and allow the evidence that they had, that it could be heard. But it's all been sealed. And so if it's been a sealed case, we can't release it until the judges allow us to release it. And you would think common sense would play. That's why they asked for transparency. We want transparency. We want the judges to have transparency in this too. But remember, there was a plea deal that was struck in 2009, way before I was in office, way before Trump was even considering to be in office, way before Pam Bondi was in office, way before Kash Patel was director. 2009, there was a sweetheart plea deal that was made underneath the Obama administration with Epstein.
Nope. That was under Bush. That was before Obama. And Trump literally made the guy that offered the sweetheart plea deal his labor secretary. Why did these guys keep lying about the timeline? I mean it sincerely. Because, you saw Bill O'Reilly do it too. It's, very weird. I think every time they lie about the timeline and try to claim Barack Obama had a hand in this or, Biden had a hand in this, it makes people more suspicious.
And that sweetheart has not been exposed.
No, it was 2000.
Oh, it's not? Well, when was the case heard?
It was 2008. It was the U.S. attorney at the time was a guy named Alex Acosta. He was a Bush appointee. He went on to become President Trump's Secretary of Labor. It all took place in 2008.
Who was in office at the time?
2008, George W. Bush.
Who was in office at the time?
George W. Bush.
No, 2009 is when the case came out, and it was and Obama was in office at the time.
It's not true. But let me ask you a question. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche met this week with Epstein's accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell, who is serving 20 years in prison for sex trafficking. After the meeting, Maxwell's attorney indicated to reporters that he hopes President Trump will give her a pardon. What do you think of that idea? Will it be a mistake for President Trump to pardon Maxwell? And do you think that she's credible?
I don't know enough about Maxwell or the conversation to even weigh in on that. But I'll go back to what you're saying about it wasn't true. The case was sealed in 2009. That's absolutely true. It was heard in 2008. It was sealed in 2009.
The point is that the sweetheart deal, which was completed in 2008, was under the Bush administration, U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta. That's why Alex Acosta resigned in the first Bush administration, because the Miami Herald had written this story in 2018.
He f***ed up. He meant under the Trump administration. Alexander Acosta, as labor secretary, literally resigned because of the Miami Herald piece.
About how Epstein got away with so much. And then in 2019, the U.S. attorney under President Trump, Jeff Berman in the Southern District of New York, then brought charges against him. So, I mean, there is stuff to say that you could point to that say, like, President Trump did this, right, or President Trump did that.
And remember, in 2019, President Trump and his administration called for it to be unsealed at that time, too. It went silent, and not a word was said during the Biden administration. Not a word. Nothing was said during the Biden administration.
People can look it up.
Okay, except Trump has said a word when he was running for president, and since is saying different words now that he is president. That's the reason why you're on television right now, Mark Wayne Mullen.
The sweetheart deal was 2008 during the George W. Bush administration. But I always appreciate your coming on the show. Senator Mullen, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Let me move on to Ghislaine Maxwell. As you know, Mr. Speaker, the Deputy Attorney General spent 2 days interviewing her. She, of course, has been convicted of grooming, recruiting, abusing young teenage girls, along with Jeffrey Epstein. Mr. Speaker, Maxwell's attorney said she answered all questions honestly and truthfully. But do you think that Ghislaine Maxwell can be trusted?
Well, I mean, look, it's a good question. I hope so. I hope that she would want to come clean. We certainly are interested in knowing everything that she knows. And as you'll note, in our House Republican majority, we're working towards that. Chairman Comer and our Oversight Committee has already issued their own subpoena. They want to bring in Ghislaine Maxwell as well. I hope she's telling the truth. She is convicted. She is serving a 20-year sentence for child sex trafficking. And so her character is in some question. But if she wants to come clean now, that would be a great service to the country. And we'd like to know every single bit of information that she has. I certainly hope she's telling the truth.
Well, listen.
You certainly hope the convicted child sex trafficker is telling the truth when Donald Trump has basically designed the situation in a way where she is the primary, she's the principal eyewitness testimony to her own crimes, because who lied under oath, by the way, but the reason why she's the principal eyewitness testifier to her own crimes is because all of the evidence that is out there, Trump doesn't want people to see.
This week, President Trump didn't rule out a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell. Of course, that's one of the big questions looming over all of this. So let me put this to you, Mr. Speaker. Would you support a pardon or a commutation for Ghislaine Maxwell, a convicted sex trafficker?
Well, I mean, obviously that's a decision of the president. He said he had not adequately considered that. I won't get in front of him. That's not my lane. My lane is to help direct and control the House of Representatives and to use every tool within our arsenal to get to the truth. I'm going to say this as clearly and plainly and repeatedly as I can over and over. We are for maximum disclosure. We want all transparency. I trust the American people. I and the House Republicans believe that they should have all this information to be able to determine what they will. But we have to protect the innocent. And that's the only safeguard here that we've got to be diligent about. And I'm insistent upon doing so.
This motherfucker just can't say no to Trump. That's what this back and forth is. We must protect the American people by releasing a prolific sex trafficker of minors into the wild because her testimony will protect our Jeffrey Epstein affiliated president, who we love a lot. What a spectacular turn of events here, where the Republicans went from kill all pedophiles to like pedophilia is good, actually, and moral in some instances. Have you considered that? Like, that's like how it didn't take that long. It did not take that long to get to this point. Here is Azealia Banks, as you guys know, is a massive Hosberus now. Israel is tapping into only the best and brightest minds here for defending Israel. But of course, when you're in the process of defending Israel, you got to also sometimes defend the Trump-Jeffrey Epstein connection. Here's what she had to say. Okay, in Donald Trump's defense, 14-year-old girls was really only made a social taboo in the 1990s. My grandmother was born in 1927 and had her first child when she was 12. Okay. Teenage pregnancy only became frowned upon with the rise of Jerry Springer, and I can be honest about the fact that I was old enough to choose, seduce, and decided to fuck a grown-ass man when I was 15. I really don't get why women are fronting like they weren't 40-year-olds at 15. Like, come on now. I'm honestly not surprised or mad at Trump for getting some 15-year-old pussy because those were the times. Good night, USA, forever. Now, if he was a 10-year-old, we have a problem. But if the girls were 13 plus, who cares? Move on. Azealia Banks logged onto her Twitter account and wrote those words in defense of Donald Trump, hypothetically doing statutory rape to a minor. That's where we're at. Incredible.
I guess my question is, are you open to a pardon or commutation? I mean, Mr. Speaker, the victims referred to Maxwell as Epstein's right-hand woman. Here's what one victim who testified under a pseudonym told the court at sentencing, quote, "The many acts that were perpetrated on me by Epstein, including rape, strangulation, and sexual assault, were never consensual and would not have occurred had it not been for the cunning and premeditated role Ghislaine Maxwell played." Is that someone deserving of a pardon or commutation in any circumstance, Mr. Speaker?
If you're asking my opinion, I think 20 years was a pittance. I think she should have a life sentence at least. I mean, think of all these unspeakable crimes. And as you noted earlier, probably 1,000 victims. I mean, it's hard to put into words how evil this was, and that she orchestrated it and was a big part of it. At least under the criminal sanction, I think is an unforgivable thing. So, again, not my decision, but I have great pause about that, as any reasonable person would.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or